I'm going to start this video about January's Hymn of the Month with a question. If something is damaging or harmful or hurtful to our siblings in the faith, at what point do we collectively decide that we're done doing it? I love our Hymn of the Month. We're singing together number 815 in the ELW, I Want to Walk as a Child of the Light. This has been a favorite of mine since childhood. This is a song that has traveled with me for much of my life. Because I have it mostly memorized, it's something that I sing to myself when I'm out on walks or if I'm doing chores, especially if I'm in a situation where I'm dealing with a lot of anxiety or dealing with a lot of pressure. It was only about 5 or 7 years ago that I first became aware of how deep the discourse is in hymnody and theology around our use of the language of light and dark. The language of light and dark is everywhere in our scripture. Even the concepts that we find in I Want to Walk as a Child of the Light are scriptural. They're based in scripture. So why am I now wrestling with a hymn that for much of my life has given me comfort? It's because I started being educated about white supremacy and the ways that people who have been in power have twisted biblical and scriptural and theological concepts. There are theologians and hymnologists now who actively work to fight against the language of light and dark, or to find ways to create nuance within it, the same way that 20 years ago, 25 years ago, we were having those same conversations about gendered language in hymns, things that now we hardly think at all about because it has become our norm, and it's something that most of us are aware of if we've been in the church for any length of time. We're aware of the way that language has changed in order to more thoroughly reflect who our siblings are, what our understanding of God actually is, and to bring that into more right alignment with what we actually find in scripture about the character of God. I am found wondering if a hymn like I Want to Walk as the Child of the Light, one that I deeply love, one that has been personally very helpful to me, I find myself wondering if in 25 or 30 years, the way that we use light and dark in our language to describe theology and spirituality will have shifted in a similar fashion.
Voiceover Karin here. I wasn't quite able in my original recording to say the things that I intended to say, so here's another try. When people in power have used theology to equate morality with ethnicity, when they have equated fairness of skin with good morality, and the inverse, that has been harmful and sinful. And it's still happening. That harm is still perpetuated. That's why the conversation matters, and why it's not something that can simply be brushed off because, oh, obviously that's not the intent of this particular hymn. The upshot is that we are being asked to reconsider how this language enters our worship spaces, how the language of light and dark can be nuanced, or how it could be avoided even. That is a request from some. What does that mean in the ELCA, which is the second whitest denomination in America? Well, that's one of the things we need to consider. We're coming to this conversation from the outside. We're coming to this conversation late. So we're not going to have the same perspective as the people who can educate us about this.
Most of our other Hymn of the Month conversations have been about the history, about who the people were that have written those. If you're curious about that, I know that Lee has written a really good short explanation of that was in an insert this last Sunday, and I found it really helpful. It tells you a bit about Kathleen Thomerson, the writer of the hymn, and it tells us a bit about why this is such a historically appropriate song for the season of Epiphany and things like that. So if you want a little bit more of that angle, go ahead and find Lee's write-up. I think you'll find that most helpful. I'd like to take us in a more devotional sort of direction today.
In 2020, I was serving another congregation as their music director, and I was introduced to the song Joyful is the Dark. I first became aware of this when we started using the All Creation Sings hymnal supplement, the purple book that we have started using more and more often. And this text by Brian Wren, I think, is something really special. It resonated with me in some really beautiful ways, similar to I Want to Walk as a Child of the Light. And I think they're very interesting to put in conversation with one another.
The text is rich and deep and full of imagery. God's mystery and all-knowingness is a comforting blanket. There's my furnace, so now we're gonna be fighting with that. This tapestry of imagery of God as this majestic presence, present in darkness, not in the ways that we have historically most often seen as in God will walk with you through the darkness, but just listen to this text. Joyful is the dark, spirit of the deep, winging wildly o'er the world's creation. Silken sheen of midnight plumage black and bright, swooping with the beauty of a raven. The Spirit of God hovered over the waters, right? Like we have that imagery from Genesis, the same way that we have in the beginning, God created light in Genesis. We see deeply scriptural themes in both of these hymns. Both of them ring true. Both of them have resonance. Both of them are important, and perhaps even more important because we are in a community that is predominantly of the most powerful demographic. Not all of us, but most of us. And so collectively, it does us good in this season of Epiphany, when we're talking about things being revealed, to encounter this with openness and to look at this in a devotional way. To say to ourselves as a community, through singing, I want to walk as a child of the light. What can we learn about the entirety of God's personhood if we do not limit ourselves to this one sliver of who God is and of who we are with our neighbors and with our siblings? If we look beyond that and put ourselves in conversation with hymns that encourage us to expand our understanding of God, how might we sing I Want to Walk as a Child of the Light a little differently? I'm going to continue to do something a little different with this Hymn of the Month video. I'm going to put these two hymns in conversation. I'm going to include both of them at the end of this video, or a version of both of them at the end of this video. And I will encourage you to sit with both and meditate on both and join me in praying both of them as we meditate on the personhood of God and what that personhood tells us about who we are called to be and the ways we are called to be in relationship with ourselves and God, with ourselves and our siblings in faith, with ourselves and the broader community and the world. How can putting these two songs in conversation help us to do more effective and less harmful ministry? Let's sing.
I want to walk as a child of the light. I want to follow Jesus
look at Jesus. Clear Sun of righteousness, shine on my path and show me the way to the Father. In him there is no darkness at all. The night and the day are both alike. The Lamb is the light of the city of God. Shine in my heart, Lord Jesus. I'm looking for the coming of Christ. I want to be with Jesus. When we have run with patience the race, we shall know the joy of Jesus. In him there is no darkness at all. The night and the day are both alike. The Lamb is the light of the city of God. Shine in my heart, Lord Jesus. Joyful is the dark, holy hidden God, rolling cloud of night beyond all naming, majesty in darkness, energy of love, word in flesh, the mystery proclaiming. Joyful is the dark, Spirit of the deep, winging wildly o'er the world's creation, silken sheen of midnight, plumage black and bright, swooping with the beauty of a raven. Joyful is the dark, shadowed stable floor. Angels flicker, God on earth confessing, as with exaltation Mary giving birth, hails the infant cry of need and blessing. Joyful is the dark, coolness of the tomb, waiting for the wonder of the morning. Never was that midnight touched by dread and gloom. Darkness was the cradle of the dawning. Joyful is the dawn.